All right, guys, good morning. Thanks for being on again and excited to be back up here in training with you guys. So today we're going to be going over a client example. We're actually going to be discussing universal life and breaking that down. A client example that I had with one of my trainees this past month. And then as we go through that, then we're going to have Jen explain to you guys how the process of getting referrals when we do that throughout the presentation. And then we'll give you guys a little compensation example towards the end. So definitely take a lot of notes. I'm going to start off with the presentation. Typically, when you talk to a client and they have a policy, there's different slides that you're going to go through and explain with that client. So the first thing is starting off here at the 4 situations that the family could be in regarding life insurance. So typically when you go through this, you're going to find out where they're at. And so funny backstory of how I kind of got this client. So it was actually my recruit. Her name's Olivia. And so we started we actually were doing a drill for skill on a Sunday night. And she had mentioned to me, she was like, I think I might have like a cash value policy, but we didn't know exactly what it was or which one it was. And she was like, we did our drill for skill and we were going over universal life that night. And we went over it, broke it down, and she immediately sent me a snapshot of her policy. She was like, I have that exact thing. This is crazy. Like, and she was just like going on about it. And I was like, okay, we're going to set up another meeting and we'll go through some more details. She's married. Her husband didn't want to be involved right at the beginning, but then eventually after we broke it down, then we were able to actually help him apply later on after I got to meet with him again as well. But either way, guys, when people realize that they have something that's not great for them, not the best, they're going to want to make a change. So the good thing is you have to make sure that you're on top of your game and know how to break down these policies, because she got the policy from somebody that she knew from church. Right? It was somebody that she knew pretty well. And so a lot of times people get sold policies because it is somebody where they have high credibility with. And they're just like, hey, I'm going to listen to this person. I trust them. And so they were a little nervous making changes because they didn't want to make another mistake again. But when you have the information on your side, then it's huge. So here, guys, when you get to this page and you're talking to the client and they do have a policy, you want to kind of advance through the slides and ask a couple questions. So the first thing is, Olivia, should I like role play with one of you guys or just explain what I did? Okay. Who wants to do the role play, Jen or Samir?
Should probably do Samir.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, awesome. So Samir, when you got your policy, why did you end up buying it? Was it for the protection and the coverage, like death benefit, the investment, or both of those things?
Probably both. Little, because insurance, but they also said there's an investment. So yeah, probably both.
Okay, awesome, perfect. And if you were to ever change benefits, what would interest you the most? Lower cost, more coverage, or a better return?
All of them.
All of them. Okay. All right. Perfect. So, when we sit down with a family, will we find that almost everybody greatly benefits by allowing us to evaluate their existing insurance, even those that may have term. And our promise is that we'll never ask you to change any financial program if there's not a significant advantage and it's not obvious to you. So if it were possible that we can significantly improve your current insurance program, help you save money, get you more protection, and give you a better return on your investment, do you have any emotional attachment to your current company or agent that prevents you from making a change?
No, not at all.
Okay, Perfect, perfect. So at this situation, guys, then you want to have them get their policy information. So with the client that I'm talking about, all she could get me was a screenshot of coverage, the company name, and the type of policy that she had. So it ended up being a Transamerica Index Universal Life policy for $350,000 of coverage. And she was paying $256 a month, and she's 36 years old, right? So it was very expensive. So that was all she was able to show me. And I was like, hey, do you think you can log in? And maybe we can actually see the PDF of the policy. And she couldn't get in for some reason. So this is where you have to be prepared. So you need to make sure that you have copies of actual policies that you can show them. So before I brought up the policy, I went back and explained exactly how universal life works. Okay, so if you guys go back to the house, oops, and click cash value, which is number 3, make sure you click here where the finger comes up. And there's a little button in the corner here that says universal. So once you click that, then it'll bring up the explanation for universal, which is what we kind of call the leaky pipe. So, all right, Samir, this is a policy called Universal Life, and it works a little bit differently than whole life insurance, but it still has coverage protection and it has a cash value. So I think this is what you may have based on what you just told me earlier. So this is also known as flexible premium adjustable life insurance. And what ends up happening is when you pay your premiums, the money kind of goes through this pipe here, and it's kind of a leaky pipe before any of that money gets towards your cash value. So what you'll see is money is going to come out along the way to cover a couple things like your cost of insurance and some fees associated with that policy. So let's say, for example, here, this client was paying $100 a month for their insurance. Their cost of insurance would come out, which is the $40. Then there's $60 left, and they have $14 that are going towards the fees. So now what's remaining, that $46, will now go into their cash value. So at that point, it's okay. But what they don't tell you, Samir, is that every single year, this cost of insurance number increases. So after about 8 to 10 years, that number will double. So if you look here, it says $100, and now their cost of insurance is $80. So you have a remaining $20 left. Still got to pay your fees. And now instead of $46, only $6 is going into your cash value. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. Now we don't just magically stop aging. So we're going to continue getting older. And now another 10 years goes by and our cost of insurance is now $160. So now we're in the red, we're negative $60. We got to pay the fees. And now we're negative $74. Can you take a guess at where the insurance company may take that $74 from?
I guess out of my investment.
Right, exactly. So this bucket that we've been putting money into to hopefully accumulate maybe for our retirement or to have money that we can access later on is now going to start depreciating. And eventually, what's going to happen if they keep taking money out of that bucket?
I don't know what does happen.
Well, eventually it may run out, right? And so if it gets to 0, then they're going to send you a letter and say, hey, Samir, we want to make sure that you continue your coverage, but we don't have enough money right now to pay for that. So you're going to have to send us an additional amount of money or your policy may lapse. So if you learn that you own something like this, or this is exactly how your policy worked, how would that make you feel?
Terrible.
Terrible, right? So when we look at this, this is not a great situation to be in. So after we went over this, she was very upset, right? So we broke it down, we explained that she was very upset. And I was like, hey, it's okay. Let me, you always want to bring the client down a little bit. And then I was like, let me just show you, right? Because I know you don't have a policy. Let me show you an example, because then you can actually look at it yourself, right? When you look into your contract. So then I pulled up, and the lucky thing was I had a Transamerica Universal Life policy. So let me pull that up for you guys here. All right. So here we go. We got Transamerica. And when we pull up the policy, I just showed them here that it is a flexible premium adjustable life insurance policy, right? Then you scroll down and you start going through the pages. So some critical things that you want to show the client is where they can find their premium and their coverage. So here, this client, this example had 150,000 of coverage. They were 31 years old and a female. Okay. So they also had another rider, right? So here's another thing that I did mention, because I've heard just from training guys that sometimes if you say what other agents have said, it also creates a little extra credibility. So Olivia was like, why didn't they explain all of this exactly to me? I was like, yeah, they probably told you this. They probably said, hey, if you got a policy where you can have coverage if you passed away, you also had savings towards your retirement, and you also had some health protection, like if you needed to go into a nursing home or something, all in one product, that would be beneficial, right? And she was like, that is exactly word for word what they said, right? And I was like, exactly, because that's what they're going to sell. Who wouldn't move forward with that, right? Who wouldn't move forward if they could just pay one thing and get all those things taken care of? But obviously we know that that's not how everything's going to work long-term, right? And so if you ever see a policy and it has that long-term care rider here, that's what they were kind of talking about with those kind of health benefits. But if our policy ends up lapsing long-term, we're not going to have that long-term care rider, right? So that's just another side note that I wanted to add there. But 150,000, 31-year-old female. And if we continue moving on through the policy, you'll see that her premium is $92 a month. So we show the client, hey, this is where you find your premium. Let's say plan premium, and it's monthly. And then you want to go over the fees. So on this page here, you'll see the fees. I kind of calculated it so you guys can see it pretty easily, but there's usually going to be 3 fees, like the fees that we showed in the picture. So you're going to see that there's a premium expense charge. So Samir, when we look at this, you want to take whatever coverage the client had, like in this situation, they had 150,000 of coverage. So you're going to take that number and you're going to multiply it by 6%. So now $5.52 is going to come out for that fee. Then they have another policy fee of $12. So that's another fee that's coming out. And then there's a monthly expense charge per 1,000. So with insurance, the units is per 1,000, right? When we shop for groceries, like milk is in gallons, right? Gas is in gallons. Insurance is in per 1,000 units. So here she had 150,000 of coverage. So you would multiply this 0.18 by 150 and you get $27. So when we start calculating all these fees, the client was paying $92 a month. $5 comes out, $12 comes out, $27 comes out. There's only $47 left over. So that's $44.52 of fees. That's 48% of her premium was just going to fees right off the top. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So,
Yep.
So with that, now we have $47 left and we still have to pay for the insurance and have some type of money going into the savings. So let's continue going on. You want to show the client the cost of insurance table. So when I did this, I did it when I thought the client was 29, but either way, same aspect. So Samir, what do you notice when you look at this table here of these numbers as it's going through?
They're going up.
They're going up. So that is now explaining that the cost of insurance is increasing every single year. So I did a couple calculations. So let's say somebody was 29, right? Now you multiply again per 1,000. So $150 times this decimal, we get $7. Then 10 years later at 39, it's $14. So what I say in the picture, that the cost of insurance was going to double, right? So it doubled again here to $14. Then at 49, $33. 59, $88. And remember what I said before, she had $47 left over. So now once it's getting to this point where there's $33 going to the cost of insurance, now it's $88 going towards the cost of insurance. Is there any money left over to go into the savings, Samir?
No.
Exactly. So now they're going to start pulling money out of the cash value. And at that point, she was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. She just kept getting more heated. So then I'll show there's some fine print in the policy as well. So up here, there's this big paragraph in the notes and footnotes of your policy, and it says, premiums may be paid until age 121. It is possible that coverage will terminate, will either no premiums are paid. So what that means is you stop paying your premiums, which is obvious, of the initial premium, or subsequent premiums are insufficient to continue coverage. So that means even if you continue to pay your premiums, it may not be enough and your policy could terminate or lapse. So I'm going to show you kind of what they showed you, but what is actually going to happen. So they probably gave you a illustration, right? And they said, hey, if you continue paying this policy, this is what it can grow to. So this was an example of the illustration with this client. And she was paying $92 a month, which is about $1,000, right? Every year. And what the agents usually will do is they're going to say, hey, look, if you continue to save and invest, your investment will can grow to these amounts over here. But Samir, which one do you think is more important to pay attention to? Guaranteed assumptions or non-guaranteed assumptions?
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed, of course. So let's look at the guaranteed column. So here, if she's paying $1,100 every single year, she did that for 5 years, that's over $5,000 that she paid. How much money does she have in the cash value?
None.
Nothing. Then now 10 years goes by, so she's paid over $11,000. She only has $800 in the cash value. Terrible investment again, right? 20 years down the road, there's only $8,000 there. But if we look here at age 70, it says 0. Now she has 0 cash value, 0 death benefit. And if you look in this first line, it says based on guaranteed assumptions, the coverage will terminate in year 38. So overall, right, Samir, in this situation, eventually this policy is going to lapse. We're not going to have any coverage and we won't have any investments. So if we can show you an option where you can have coverage that will take you all the way to retirement, but then also have an investment that's growing that'll help you become financially independent where you don't need life insurance anymore, would you be open to considering that?
Yeah, of course.
Perfect. So then at that point, I provided some options and I created like a proposal of, hey, if you bought term insurance and invested the difference, this is what you could potentially have. So while I was doing that, obviously you want to ask for referrals. This was a trainee, a recruit. So there wasn't really somebody like time down where I can ask. But if you were on an appointment, Jen's going to actually go through what to do in that situation before you bring up the quotes, before you bring up the proposal, and how you can ask for referrals.